Okay, David, so you got a little stuck with the mask, and I wanted to show you how this actually works. So if we look at this layer and we toggle down, we can see all these different objects that are on this layer. And then at the very bottom, we see a clipping group. And in that clipping group, every mask is made of two things: the compound clipping path, so the thing that actually sits on the top and kind of cookie cutters the graphics underneath. And for this compound path, it is the word mask. And then everything underneath it is the graphics that are being masked. So then we have this path right here, that's the yellow to green to yellow gradient. So what we want to do is we want to add all these other graphics underneath that compound clipping path or the mask. So what we're going to do is with the direct or the selection tool, so the black arrow, we'll select it and we'll do edit, cut. Then what we want to do is grab the direct selection tool, and if we click the text, it's going to select the compound path. See how it has this little blue circle that says I'm selecting part of that particular sublayer? And what we instead want to do is we want to, if you can hover over the text, you'll see this outside rectangle, and that represents the rectangle of this path, this graphic, this gradient that's behind the mask. And that's what we want to select, because we want to put our wave, our orange wave, on top of that gradient graphic. So we'll select that object and then we'll go to edit, paste in front. So we're going to paste that wave in front of the gradient path. So now you can see that it's a sublayer. It's underneath the mask, so that's why it's clipping when we get to the edges of the mask, but it's above the gradient here. So if we were to do that again, we can take the black arrow, or the selection tool, I always call it the black arrow, position it wherever we want it to go, and it doesn't really matter to me where it goes as long as I can see you're doing mask effects. So once we have a position, we can again edit, cut, and then we can, with the direct selection tool, select that outside graphic that represents this path. See, this blue tells you what you're selecting, and then we can do edit, paste in front. Now, it's pasting in front of the gradient graphic, but it's still underneath this wave. So that's why you can see it here, but when the wave hits it, you can't see it. So we can do one of two things. We can either just move it up here and then it's stacked on top of it. We can do more than one or two things. We can click it with the direct selection tool, grab that, right click and do arrange and choose bring to front, bring forward, blah, blah, blah. And we can choose command right bracket to bring it forward, or command left bracket. If you're on a PC, it's control left bracket, control right bracket. And so that's what I generally do, is I use one of these. So, and I usually use the keyboard shortcut, but because you can't see me using keyboard shortcut, we're just going to bring it forward once. So that brings it forward once in the stack. So that's the hard way of doing it, but it does make you practice the selection, direct selection tools, pasting in front of, all that good stuff. The easiest way is to actually just grab the selection tool, move your graphics where you want them. So let's say I wanted that there. Let's say I wanted this here, and maybe I actually want to twist it a little bit, and maybe I want this here. And notice that it's not clipping for those objects because they're still up here. They're not a part of our compound clipping group, mask, whatever. So I can click each one of these. So we'll start with this one because I've already moved this one, and we'll move it down, and then we can choose which order it appears in. So if I want it underneath the wave, I can put it underneath the wave. I can grab this one, pop it in. I can grab the blue dash line, pop that in. So that's a much easier way, but it doesn't get you to practice all these other things that you probably need to practice. So the only thing you have to be careful with is see how this graphic is not anywhere near the actual clipping mask. So if you pull that in there, it's going to seem like it disappeared, and then you can't actually position it. So you kind of need to position it before you move it in there. So if I wanted to position this here, but I wanted it to be underneath all these other graphics, I can put it at the very bottom, and there we go. So hopefully that helps you work with masks and move things around and work with the direct selection versus selection tool and all that good stuff. But the easiest, simplest way is just to open up these clipping groups and be able to put your graphics underneath a particular mask or compound clipping path.